Hey everybody, this is the section on Joseph Carter from Marcel van der Linden's Western Marxism and the Soviet Union. Maybe it would be helpful if I started reading the chapters when I do these little things. This is from Chapter 3, From Stalin's Great Leap Forwards to the Great Patriotic War, and it's under the subsection Theories of a New Mode of Production. So, Joseph Carter, who lived from 1910 to 1970, considered the analysis of his comrade Shachtman confusing because it combined, quote, the position that Russia is a new reactionary economic system with the opposite view, that it is a progressive economy established by the Russian workers' revolution but distorted by bureaucratic domination, end quote. Footnote. On the Carter-Shachtman debate, see Drucker 1994 and Haberkern and Lippau, as well as Kalinikos 1996. Both Haberkern and Lippau 1996 and Kalinikos 1996. In Carter's view, there was nothing to defend about the Soviet Union for socialists, neither in times of war, nor in times of peace. Quote, from a historical viewpoint, Russia has taken a bastard path backward from the regime established by the Bolshevik Revolution, end quote. By drawing a distinction between property forms and property relations, Carter alleged, Shachtman had tried to evade that conclusion, but the distinction did not make sense. Quote, when Marxists speak of the, quote, form of property, end quote, Marxists invariably mean social form of property, that is, property relations, as feudal forms of property and economy, capitalist forms of property and economy, socialistic transitional form of property and economy, etc. If for the sake of greater clarity on the new Russian phenomenon, Shachtman chooses to introduce a terminological distinction between, quote, form of property, end quote, property relations, end quote, Shachtman can do so, but only on one condition, by making clear that by, quote, form of property, end quote, he does not mean, quote, social form of property, end quote. Otherwise, the result is not clarity but confusion. Otherwise, property forms are property relations, end quote. Carter, 1941. Joseph Carter characterized Stalinism as bureaucratic collectivism, a concept that would afterwards be used also by other theoreticians of a, quote, new class society, end quote. In bureaucratic collectivism, the ruling class, i.e. the bureaucracy, attempts to expand the social surplus product by force to increase its own revenue, power, and position. Quote, forced labor is thus an inherent feature of present-day Russian productive relations, end quote. In contrast to most other Marxists, Carter considered the Soviet Union a very inefficient society, in which the productive forces grew more slowly than would become possible within a system of democratic planning. Even if the USSR had succeeded in raising the industrial level of the country, the annual growth rate declined more and more, and income inequalities increased. Bureaucratic relations and the associated state terrorism were to blame, because bureaucratic relations and the associated state terrorism caused, quote, constant disruptions in production, disproportions in output of the various industries dependent upon one another, and therefore large-scale economic waste, low efficiency of production, end quote. Carter, 1941. Internationally, the USSR functioned as a, quote, huge national trust, end quote, which did not admit world capitalism to its domestic market and strove to overthrow this capitalism as, quote, an indispensable condition for the liberation of its own nationally confined productive forces, so it could benefit fully from advanced Western technique and take its place as an integral part of a progressive world economy." End quote. The end.